Hi there, my name is Christine, and I'm going to talk about organizational structure from the perspective of one of the world's biggest companies, which is Microsoft. Every single existing organization has a goal to achieve. And in order to achieve these goals, there are a lot of things that should be taken into consideration. How do you transform an input to an output? What are the processes needed to perform a specific task? What are the resources that we need to reach our goal? What's the plan? How long does it take to meet our target? How many people do we need to do the job? There are a whole lot of questions we had to deal with before we actually get to reach that goal. There is just one answer to these questions: organizing. Yes, organizing is the keyword. Organizing resources, whether it be physical, raw materials, or people, is one of the key things companies use to achieve success. For the sake of this lecture, we'll be focusing more on organizing people in a company, which helps a lot in executing our plans and which will lead to the realization of our goals. But first, let's see what really is an organizational structure. Well, to me, it is how companies try to divide work among their employees to actually maximize efficiency and effectiveness. We all know that people are part of a company's resources. It's actually one of the biggest ones. Well, if we actually go to a company, we would actually notice organizational charts inside, you'll see how jobs are divided from the head CEO to however they try to divide the job task among the people they have. And all of this are happening just for one thing: to achieve the goal. According to an online article I have read from smallbusiness.cron.com, there are three main types of organizational structure. We'll start with the first one: the functional structure. From its root word, function, you would have guessed that this is the structure where people are grouped based on business functions or purpose. This is one of the most common types of organizations nowadays. In this particular kind of structure, you would find an IT department, a manufacturing department, sales department, research and development, accounting, and finance. People are simply grouped by their kind of job. What are the outstanding strengths that this particular structure have? One is that this structure brings specialization. Because people are grouped together by similar tasks or jobs, they usually are experts in their field. For example, in the company's IT department, this will obviously be composed of people with a background in information technology and skills in that particular field. Same goes with the marketing department, which will definitely be made up of people with marketing skills or background. And because people are experts in what they do, it would often lead to productivity and operational efficiency. Companies use organizational structures to put together the human resources and the goal to be achieved, and with functional structure, the goal would be easily achieved with less wasted resources. However, there would also be some drawbacks to this structure, like lack of effective communication and coordination. Sometimes because people are so focused with their own individual departments, they may be unwilling to cooperate or even share information, which may then be a hindrance to achieving a company's goal. Communication and coordination are two of the most important factors in an organization's success. And if it is not effectively happening in an organization, it could cause the downfall of a company. And just a piece of trivia, one of the well-known companies that use this structure is Starbucks Coffee, which has their own finance, HR, and marketing department. Now let's see the second type of organizational structure right here. It's the divisional structure. It is primarily based on geographical location or product lines. They are typically used in large companies that operate in a wide geographic area or that have separate smaller organization within the umbrella group to cover different types of products or markets. For example, Mazda Motor Corporation has a divisional structure, wherein they would have a separate parts division, services division, and sales division on each geographical location. Let's see what are the benefits of having this structure. One is the quick decision making because of the independence that they have, and at the same time, having their own divisional manager could contribute to increased effectiveness. On the other side, it also has a weakness. One of the most common disadvantage that it has is the duplication of work, which can be costly. Because different geographical locations or different product lines require a separate division for accounting or services or any other kind of service, the efforts and functions are duplicated and have a negative impact on the cost of operations. Now let's move on to our third and last type of structure, the matrix team structure. In this structure, employees with different specializations and job designations are pulled together for a specific project. It's the type of design that brings together employees and managers to work towards a particular goal. Oftentimes, the employees or team members would have dual bosses, their original department managers and their project managers. There are a number of positive impacts this structure can bring, like enhanced sharing of information, increase in motivation, and increase in depth of knowledge. But because of the increased complexity and chain of command, like having two bosses at the same time, it could actually lead to conflicting loyalties and internal conflict. Also, it could be expensive to maintain. One of the companies that use this structure is Boeing, the leading producer of military and commercial aircraft. Now that we know what an organizational structure is and the different types of organizational structure and their strengths and weaknesses, now let us take a closer look to our main topic, one of the world's well-known company, Microsoft. How did they begin? What does the company culture look like? What is it like to work in such a reputable brand? How are the people organized inside the company? How does the type of structure they decided to pull through help them succeed? Or how does it cause them to fail? So we see here right now, it's actually Bill Gates and his friend Paul Allen who founded Microsoft in 1975. Yes, that's right, Microsoft. Micro is actually a short term for microcomputers and soft is for software. Microsoft is an American multinational corporation that develops, manufactures, licenses, supports, and sells a range of software products and services. Now we see how the Microsoft's original structure looks like. It's a functional structure. As you can see on top of the organizational chart, there's Bill Gates and Paul Allen as the co-founders of Microsoft. And under them, there's Maria Wood, which is the bookkeeper or the administrative assistant. And then there are three different specializations underneath, which is the office manager, the production manager, and project manager. Yeah, this is how the original organizational structure of Microsoft looks like. At first, Bill Gates wanted a family type of culture, which clearly had an influence on the way they laid out this organizational structure. It was functional, where you can see people are grouped together according to their specializations. The company started it this way until such time that they had a boom and they had to change their structure to fit in the needs of their company. More profit means they expanded their human resources as well. And now let's see how the new structure looks like. The Microsoft structure today is divisional. The CEO, who is Satya Nadella, has two umbrella groups or divisions under him, which is the engineering groups and the business functions group. On 2015, Microsoft announced changes to its organizational structure and leadership team. Some of its most senior executives are departing, and the company is shifting internal teams in what the company describes as a change to better match its personnel to its strategy, according to a memo published both internally and externally by its CEO Satya Nadella. So these are the following changes. And as we can see here, there's a picture of some of Microsoft senior leaders, which has Satya Nadella as the Chief Executive Officer. You might notice that there are like a lot of executive vice presidents in here, which actually kind of tackles the duplication of work disadvantage of this particular kind of structure. So what are the strengths of the divisional structure that Microsoft is utilizing right now? First is a quick decision making, increased effectiveness, and more customer-centered. But on the other side, on the weakness side, it's the duplication of work, it's expensive and costly, and sometimes it causes a failure of coordination. There's actually a story that kind of describes how this particular kind of organizational structure failed Microsoft once. For example, Microsoft's business software division developed the social connector in Microsoft Office Outlook 2010. They were unable to integrate Microsoft SharePoint and Windows Live until months after Social Connector could interface with MySpace and LinkedIn. Some experts suggested that Microsoft's divisional structure contributed to a situation where its own products were incompatible across internal business units. Failure of coordination. Let's see now how it affects external factors. First is with customers. I think that this particular kind of organizational structure has a positive impact in their market and in their customers. Because of transforming to a more customer-centered structure like the divisional design, they did not just keep their old customers, but they actually had earned more of them. Their market has widely expanded, and it will continue to expand in the future as they adjust to their needs. Let's look at another external factor, which is the legal factor. I notice as well that this whole thing has an advantage on its legal factor. You can see how they have added a corporate, external, and legal business function in their current organizational structure. Organizations this big would obviously need one, and had they not updated or adjusted to this particular need, they would have been inefficient and ineffective in achieving their goals. And the last one is its positive impact on technology. The fast pace of technology nowadays require a big company like Microsoft to be up to the game. There are a lot of competitors out there waiting for their chance to beat them. Had they stayed in a functional structure, they might not be able to keep up with their growing market, and they might not be as effective as they are right now. So what's the bottom line of all this? I believe that Microsoft teaches us some important business lessons, or might as well say some organizational structure lessons. One is that you don't need to have yourself stuck in a particular kind of organizational structure. They started to have a functional structure when they founded Microsoft because it is the appropriate design for the company at that time. Then, when they expanded, they transformed into a divisional organization, which would make their company more productive and more profitable. Then, they didn't just stop there. They also continued to do some restructuring and reorganization, all because of one thing: to get closer to its goals. There is no right or wrong way to organize people as long as you get to that goal at the end of the day. You're great. Another key takeaway is that culture runs the business in all angles. Culture affects how people's, especially employees, think and act, and the company as a whole. Culture has a great influence on how a company will structure its people. Culture and structure are two of the biggest determinants of a company's overall success. In the economy that we have nowadays, I personally believe that there is no specific organizational structure that would be outstanding to a given company, just because it depends on a lot of factors. In the case of Microsoft, I honestly believe that what they did in their structure is the most appropriate thing to do: to welcome change whenever it is needed, and to welcome change for the good of the company.